children, spend it on the ones who need it the most.
The 1980s gave us some of the biggest names in music history, but for every stadium-filling superstar, there were brilliant bands with all the talent and none of the luck. These 13 acts had the songs, the skill, and the critical acclaim, but somehow never became household names. Number 13. Hüsker Dü. The St. Paul Trio redefined what punk rock could become in the middle of the decade. Their double album Zen Arcade arrived in 1984 and immediately earned comparisons to The Clash and The Who for its ambition and raw emotional power. Critics placed it at number 33 on Rolling Stone's list of the 100 greatest albums of the 1980s. Bob Mould's howling guitar work and introspective lyrics pointed directly toward the alternative explosion that would dominate the next decade. Warner Brothers Records signed them in 1986, giving the band major label resources and national distribution. But internal tensions between Mould and drummer Grant Hart destroyed the group by 1988. Green Day's Billy Joe Armstrong later said there would be no Green Day without Hüsker Dü. The Pixies, Nirvana, and countless others built their careers on the template this band created. Yet Hüsker Dü remains a footnote in mainstream rock history. Number 12. The Replacements. 17 shows into their first major tour, the band showed up drunk and belligerent. Paul Westerberg and his bandmates seemed determined to sabotage every opportunity that came their way. Their 1984 album Let It Be combined punk fury with heartbreaking melodies that should have made them as big as REM. Critics worshipped them. College radio played them constantly. Major labels came calling with contracts and promises. But self-destruction became their signature move more than any hit song. Twin/Tone Records released their early work before Sire Records signed them for wider distribution. Albums like Tim and Pleased to Meet Me showcased Westerberg's gifts as a songwriter, crafting 3-minute perfect pop songs, buried under deliberate sloppiness. They influenced an entire generation of alternative bands in the 1990s. Today, the Replacements are more popular and respected than they ever were during their chaotic original run. Number 11. The Sound. While never commercially successful, critics championed the Sound from their earliest releases. Their 1981 album From the Lion's Mouth received widespread critical acclaim for its atmospheric post-punk sound. Contemporary bands like U2, The Cure, and Echo and the Bunnymen achieved massive commercial success with similar sounds, yet the Sound remained confined to cult status, despite deserving equal recognition. Frontman Adrian Borland's songwriting and emotive vocals created powerful anthems that should have filled arenas. Mental illness derailed everything by the middle of the decade. Borland began showing symptoms in 1985 and suffered a complete breakdown during a tour in Spain 2 years later. The band limped through lineup changes before dissolving. Their influence echoes through decades of alternative and indie rock, particularly inspiring later post-punk revival bands. The Sound's combination of emotional intensity and sonic experimentation deserved far wider recognition. Number 10. XTC. Sophisticated pop craftsmanship defined every album this Swindon band released. Andy Partridge and Colin Moulding wrote songs with Beatles-level melodic complexity wrapped in quirky new wave arrangements. Their 1980 album Black Sea climbed to number 41 on the Billboard 200. Critics compared them to the best British pop bands of any era, Senses Working. Overtime from 1982's English Settlement showcased their ability to blend intelligence with accessibility, while Making Plans for Nigel from Drums and Wires in 1979 had already demonstrated their uniquely British pop sensibility. Then, Partridge's stage fright worsened. A panic attack during a 1982 televised gig in Paris ended their touring career permanently, cutting off the primary. Way bands built audiences in that era. Management disputes and battles with Virgin Records drained their finances and energy. The Dear God B-side from 1986 gained extraordinary traction on U.S. college radio, eventually released as an A-side single in 1987, bringing them brief mainstream attention and causing religious radio bans. Their later work grew even more experimental and brilliant, but commercial success never matched their artistic achievements. Number 9. The Chameleons. Manchester produced legendary bands at an impossible rate in the early 1980s. While the Smiths and New Order dominated headlines, this quartet created some of the decade's most emotionally powerful music. Their 1983 debut Script of the Bridge layered dual guitars into shimmering walls of sound. Mark Burgess sang urgent, existential lyrics over rhythms that built to anthemic crescendos. Billy Corgan called them a huge influence on the Smashing Pumpkins. Oasis, The Verve, and Interpol all cited the Chameleons as essential to their sound. But tragedy struck before success could arrive. Their manager Tony Fletcher died suddenly, and the band fell apart in 1987 amid internal conflicts. They had released 3 remarkable albums without ever breaking through to mainstream audiences. Their atmospheric guitar techniques and emotional depth laid groundwork for shoegaze and alternative rock throughout the 1990s. Decades later, musicians and critics recognized them as one of the most criminal oversights in rock history. Before we continue, which of these bands did you discover years after the 1980s ended? Did you stumble onto Hüsker Dü through a documentary or a friend's recommendation? Drop a comment and let us know where you're watching from. Number 8. Alphaville. The German trio conquered Europe with synthesizer-driven anthems that combined new wave accessibility with progressive ambition. Big in Japan became a massive continental hit in 1984, topping charts across multiple European countries. Their debut album, Forever Young, sold millions and established them as synthpop royalty. The title track became one of the decade's most enduring songs, though it built its legendary status slowly over years, eventually being covered by countless artists and featured in films across decades. America barely noticed, and the band's preference for studio work over extensive touring limited their growth. Their second album, Afternoons in Utopia, proved they were far more than a two-hit wonder. Critics often dismissed them as lightweight pop, missing the sophistication in their arrangements and production. They remain hugely underrated outside of Europe, a band whose ambition and craftsmanship deserved worldwide recognition. Number 7. Dream Syndicate. The Paisley Underground movement in Los Angeles revived psychedelic rock for a new generation. At the center stood this quartet, whose 1982 debut, Days of Wine and Roses, sent shockwaves through America's underground rock scene. Steve Wynn's guitar work channeled the Velvet Underground and television through a West Coast lens, with lead guitarist Carl Procota adding further texture to the band's raw sound. The album arrived on Slash Records' subsidiary Ruby Records, with critical acclaim from every alternative music publication. MTV ignored them completely, favoring polished pop and hair metal over raw, guitar-driven psychedelia. The band released excellent albums throughout the decade, each praised by critics and ignored by mainstream radio. They influenced countless alternative bands in the 1990s who found commercial success that eluded Dream Syndicate. The group disbanded in 1989, recognized as seminal forces in Los Angeles' underground evolution, but denied the wider audience their music deserved. Number 6. Anvil. Canadian speed metal pioneers influenced the biggest names in thrash before most fans knew their name. Their 1982 album, Metal on Metal, delivered relentless speed and technical precision that set blueprints for an entire genre. Metallica, Slayer, Anthrax, and Megadeth all cited Anvil as primary influences on their sound. By 1984, Anvil were performing at Japan's Super Rock Festival alongside Whitesnake, Bon Jovi, and Scorpions, playing to tens of thousands. Then, everything fell apart. Poor management decisions and bad luck destroyed their momentum just as thrash metal exploded into the mainstream. Their disciples conquered stadiums and sold millions of albums while Anvil played small clubs. The 1987 album Strength of Steel peaked at number 191 on the Billboard 200. Throughout the 1990s, their fortunes declined further while the bands they influenced became legends. The 2008 documentary Anvil. The story of Anvil finally told their story to a wider audience, revealing the ultimate example of the band that almost was. Number 5. The Alarm. Wales produced one of the decade's most passionate and anthemic rock bands. Mike Peters led this quartet through a string of powerful songs that earned immediate comparisons to U2. Tracks like 68 Guns, Strength, and Rain in the Summertime combined driving rhythms with socially conscious lyrics. IRS Records released their albums throughout the 1980s to strong sales in the United Kingdom and respectable college radio play in America. But they never achieved the stadium-filling breakthrough that seemed inevitable. U2 ascended to global superstar status, while The Alarm remained a step below, despite similar sounds and equally compelling songs. Peters possessed Bono's intensity and idealism, but lacked the same promotional machinery and timing. They dissolved in 1991 after producing an impressive body of work that should have made them huge. Before we continue, did you own any albums by these overlooked bands? Were you championing the Chameleons or Anvil while everyone else chased MTV hits? Drop a comment below. Number 4. The Rainmakers. Kansas City's Heartland rock champions formed in 1983 with sharp wit and literate songwriting. Let My People Go Go became a college radio hit in 1986, earning significant MTV rotation. Bob Walkenhorst wrote clever, socially aware lyrics that elevated the band above typical roots rock acts. Their sound combined the earnestness of John Mellencamp with sharper edges and smarter wordplay. Europe embraced them far more than America did. Norway particularly loved the Rainmakers, giving them chart success and sold-out tours throughout Scandinavia. Snake Dance gave them another modest profile boost in 1988. But mainstream American rock radio favored harder-edged bands or slicker production, leaving the Rainmakers in an uncomfortable middle ground. They produced excellent albums through 1990 before initially breaking up. Their combination of intelligence and accessibility should have earned them much wider recognition. Number 3. The Icicle Works. Liverpool produced another brilliant band that America reduced to near one-hit wonder status. Birds Fly, Whisper to a Scream became a modest hit in 1983, introducing listeners to Ian McNabb's distinctive vocals and the band's eclectic sound. Their self-titled debut album from 1984 showcased a group comfortable moving between new wave, alternative rock, and psychedelia. Critics loved their adventurous approach and McNabb's poetic lyrics. American radio stations ignored almost everything they released. The United Kingdom gave them more respect, Where Love is a Wonderful Color and other singles found audiences. The band released strong albums through the late 1980s before the original lineup dissolved around 1988 to 1989, with Beggar's Banquet having dropped them after their 1988 record. Their influence on British alternative rock exceeded their commercial success significantly. Number 2. Talk Talk. Few bands transformed as radically as this London group during the 1980s. They started as polished new romantic synth pop, delivering hits like It's My Life and Such a Shame that defined early decade radio. Marquee. Hollis led the band through increasingly ambitious musical territory, abandoning commercial considerations entirely by mid-decade. EMI Records expected more accessible pop songs and instead received challenging jazz-inflected compositions. The 1988 album Spirit of Eden marked the ultimate break from their past. Hollis used silence as an instrument, building sprawling organic textures that required patience and multiple listens. The album pioneered what critics later called post-rock, but radio stations had no idea what to do with it. Talk Talk fought to leave EMI through litigation, eventually winning their freedom and signing with Polydor. Hollis disappeared from music entirely in the 1990s, leaving behind a radical evolution that influenced countless experimental artists.
Don't you forget, it's my love.
Number 1. The Jesus and Mary Chain. East Kilbride, Scotland produced brothers who wrapped beautiful melodies in walls of feedback and distortion. Their 1985 debut Psycho Candy arrived like a sonic assault, released on Blanco y Negro Records, combining the Velvet Underground's noise with 1960s pop songwriting. Songs lasted 2 or 3 minutes, but felt simultaneously abrasive and gorgeous. The band's 3 1980s albums, Psycho Candy, Darklands, and Automatic, delivered consistently excellent material, but they never achieved mainstream presence despite paving the way for countless alternative bands in the 1990s. My Bloody Valentine, Dinosaur Jr., and the entire shoegaze movement built directly on foundations the Jesus and Mary Chain established. American college radio embraced them while commercial stations ignored them completely. They were perhaps before their time, creating emotionally complex yet functional rock that audiences needed another decade to fully appreciate. Their influence far exceeded their sales figures. The ultimate example of a band that never got its proper due during the decade that defined their sound.